Most people think manifestation is about thinking harder. They repeat affirmations. They visualize outcomes. They imagine a future they want to reach. But manifestation doesn't fail because people don't think enough. It fails because their emotional state contradicts their intention. Some people manifest easily not because they are lucky, gifted, or spiritual, but because their inner state is already aligned with the outcome they want. They don't chase it mentally. They embody it emotionally. One of the oldest ideas explaining this comes from the Hermetic principles, ancient teachings that were never about superstition, but about how the inner world shapes the outer one. One principle says, as within, so without. Meaning, your external reality reflects your internal state, not your wishes. Reality doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are being. This is where most people misunderstand manifestation. They focus on the outcome they desire, while emotionally living in the fear of the outcome they don't want. They think about abundance, but feel scarcity. They imagine love, but feel loneliness. They visualize success, but feel unworthy. The mind says one thing, the body feels another, and the body always wins. Emotion is the language of the subconscious. You can think a thought once, but you feel emotions continuously. And the subconscious doesn't respond to words. It responds to patterns of feeling. This is why some people manifest without trying. They're not obsessing over results. They simply operate from the emotional baseline of someone who already expects things to work out. Calm, grounded, certain. Hermetic philosophy teaches that everything vibrates, not metaphorically, psychologically. Your emotional state is a vibration, and whatever emotional state you repeatedly occupy becomes the filter through which you perceive reality. This is crucial, because you don't experience the world as it is, you experience it as you are. When someone constantly fuels thoughts of what they don't want, they create fear, anxiety, resistance. Even if the thought is phrased positively, the emotion underneath is still avoidance. And avoidance creates more of what you're avoiding, not because the universe is punishing you, but because your attention is locked onto the wrong signal. Manifestation doesn't work by chasing outcomes. It works by shifting identity. The Hermetic principle of mentalism explains this simply. All things are first created in the mind. But not the conscious mind, the embodied mind, the emotional identity you live in daily. Ask yourself this. How does the version of you who already has what you want feel on a normal day? Not excited, not euphoric, but neutral, stable, unbothered. That's the key. People who manifest easily don't live in anticipation. They live in expectation without tension. The moment you emotionally depend on an outcome, you push it further away, because dependence creates lack, and lack reinforces the identity of not having. This is why forcing positivity backfires. You can't fake embodiment. You can only become familiar with the emotional state you want to live in. This is also why solitude matters. When you're alone, external signals quiet down. You stop reacting, and you begin noticing your baseline emotional state. Most people never do this. They stay distracted and never realize they are emotionally rehearsing the very reality they say they don't want. Here's the shift that changes everything. Stop asking, how do I get this outcome? And start asking, what emotional state would I need to live in for this outcome to be normal? Normality is powerful. The subconscious moves toward what feels familiar, not what feels impressive. This is why calm people manifest faster than desperate ones, why grounded people attract opportunities, why those who stop obsessing often see movement. They stopped broadcasting contradiction. The Hermetic principle of polarity explains this too. Every emotion exists on a spectrum. Fear and confidence are not opposites. They are degrees of the same state. You don't need to jump to confidence. You only need to move slightly away from fear. Relief is enough. Neutrality is enough. Peace is enough. Manifestation isn't dramatic. It's subtle. It's the quiet shift from tension to ease, from needing to expecting, from imagining to inhabiting. And here's the final truth most people miss. Your thoughts don't manifest. Your emotional consistency does. Whatever you emotionally return to, day after day, becomes your reality. Not immediately, but inevitably. Your identity is the story your nervous system believes, not the story you tell people, not the goals you write down, but the silent assumptions you live by. Who you believe you are determines what feels possible, what feels normal, and what feels out of reach. Most people try to manifest outcomes while keeping the same identity. They want change, without changing the internal role they're playing. But the Hermetic principle of cause and effect tells us something important. Every effect has a cause, and your identity is the cause. Outcomes are just symptoms. This is why manifestation often feels delayed, because the conscious mind wants one thing, while the identity remains anchored in another. You can't outperform your self-image. Think about this carefully. If your identity is someone who struggles, then ease will feel unfamiliar. If your identity is someone who waits, then movement will feel threatening. If your identity is someone who hopes, then certainty will feel unrealistic. The subconscious protects identity, even if that identity is painful. This is why repeating affirmations often fails. You say the words, but your nervous system rejects them. Not because they're false, but because they don't match who you believe you are. Manifestation works when identity shifts first, when the emotional role changes, when your internal posture toward life becomes different. Not louder, not more confident, just more settled. Here's something most people never realize. You don't need to believe an outcome will happen. You only need to believe it's allowed. That subtle shift changes everything. When something feels allowed, your body relaxes. When your body relaxes, your perception widens. When perception widens, you notice options. This is how reality changes, not instantly, but steadily. Hermetic teachings describe this as transmutation, not forcing change, but altering the internal state that produces the effect. You don't fight darkness, you introduce light. This also explains why obsessing over manifestation blocks it. Obsession is resistance disguised as focus. It keeps your identity stuck in wanting, and wanting confirms not having. People who manifest easily don't constantly think about what they want. They think about what aligns. They move differently. They speak differently. They respond instead of react. This is where solitude plays another role. When you're alone, you meet your unfiltered identity. No performance, no comparison. Just your baseline emotional state. This is where real change begins. Most people are uncomfortable here because silence reveals contradiction, and contradiction is uncomfortable. But that discomfort is the doorway. Ask yourself this, without judgment. Who am I being when no one is watching? Am I calm, tense, expectant, resigned? That answer matters more than any affirmation. The Hermetic principle of rhythm teaches that everything moves in cycles: growth, pause, integration. Manifestation isn't about constant effort, it's about timing and readiness. When your identity stabilizes, things accelerate. Not because you pushed, but because you stopped pulling in opposite directions. Here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing reality to change, it begins to respond. Because need dissolves alignment, and trust restores it. Manifestation isn't control, it's coherence. When thought, emotion, and identity point in the same direction, movement becomes natural. So instead of asking, how do I manifest faster? Ask, What part of me is still resisting being this person? That question will take you further than any technique. Because the work isn't about attracting something new. It's about no longer rejecting what matches you. And when that happens, life doesn't feel magical. It feels obvious.